Kayla perched high on the rocky cliffs of Zarathis, her eyes scanning the vast sandy plains below. The twin suns cast long shadows across the landscape, turning the desert into a shifting sea of gold and crimson. Far below, a group of alien hunters moved with precision, their weapons glinting in the sunlight. They had come to Zarathis for the ultimate sport, the human hunt. Kayla had never understood why her people found pleasure in chasing humans. To her, they were fragile creatures, far weaker than any Ilthari, yet she could not deny the strange fascination she felt whenever she watched them. There was something about humans that stood out. They did not surrender to fear as most creatures would. Even when trapped or wounded, they fought with intelligence and courage. Her gaze fell on a single human who had managed to break away from the main group. Aaron was his name, she had learned, though she did not need to know it to admire him. He darted between the jagged rocks, using the terrain to his advantage. He was small and lightly built, yet every movement he made was precise, deliberate. The hunters, though strong and well-armed, struggled to keep up. Kayla's heart raced. She had never felt this way about a human before. Not fear, not hunger, not curiosity, but a mixture of awe and respect. She realized she was rooting for him, silently wishing he would survive. It was forbidden, of course. No Ilthari had ever interfered with a hunt. To do so would bring dishonor and disgrace. Yet Kayla could not look away. The hunters closed in, their mechanical trackers buzzing in the hot air. Aaron paused at the edge of a narrow canyon, calculating his next move. Kayla held her breath. He jumped across the gap with a leap that seemed impossible. One of the hunters shouted in anger, clearly frustrated at the human's cleverness. Aaron landed safely on the other side and sprinted toward a line of sparse vegetation, using the cover to disappear from sight. Kayla's eyes glistened. She had never seen a human move with such combination of intelligence and instinct. She wanted to call out to him, to warn him of the dangers ahead, but the risk of exposure was too great. Her people would not forgive interference. Still, her mind raced with ideas. What if she could do more than just watch? What if she could protect him? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of a hunter's weapon discharging. The bullet missed Aaron by inches, embedding itself in the sand behind him. Aaron rolled to the side and sprang up again, moving in a zigzag pattern to confuse the attackers. Kayla felt a surge of emotion, a mixture of fear and admiration. She could not explain it, but she felt a deep connection to this human. Suddenly, Aaron froze. One of the hunters had set a trap and the human had stepped into it. The ground beneath him gave way slightly, threatening to pin him down. Kayla's mind screamed at her to act, to do something, but she stayed still. One small move and she could be discovered. One small move and her life would be at risk. But then Aaron did something unexpected. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small metallic device. With a quick adjustment, a net shot out and caught the edge of a nearby rock, creating a makeshift swing. He used it to launch himself over the trap, landing safely on the other side. Kayla's mouth fell open. No human had ever shown such ingenuity before. She felt a mixture of excitement and pride. This was not just survival. This was creativity, courage, and determination in action. Kayla realized that the humans, despite their weakness and strength, possessed qualities that were rare even among the strongest of her kind. Kayla's thoughts drifted to a question she had never asked before. Why do my people hunt them? She had always accepted it as tradition, but watching Aaron, she began to doubt. Humans were not merely prey. They were clever, resourceful, and courageous. They were remarkable. The sun was beginning to set, painting the desert in deep oranges and purples. The hunters were growing tired, but Aaron showed no signs of giving up. He climbed a steep ridge, his body moving with agility and speed. Kayla followed silently, heart pounding. As night fell, the desert became a place of shadows and uncertainty. Aaron had found a small cave to rest in, unaware that Kayla had chosen a hiding spot nearby. She wanted to speak to him, to explain that she meant no harm, but the humans were wary of her kind. Any interaction could be dangerous. She decided to wait. Patience, she reminded herself, was part of survival. From her vantage point, she watched Aaron sleep. He looked peaceful, yet alert even in rest. Kayla felt an unfamiliar warmth in her chest. She realized that she did not want to see him captured. She did not want the hunt to end with him as a trophy. In that moment, she made a choice, a dangerous, forbidden choice. She would protect him, even if it meant defying her people. The night grew colder and the twin moons rose over the horizon. Kayla knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges. The hunters would not stop, and the desert held dangers beyond their control, yet she felt a strange sense of purpose. She was no longer just an observer, she was part of something larger, a story that would test courage, intelligence, and the bonds that could form between species. Kayla whispered to the silent desert, "You are not alone, human. I will watch over you." The words were carried away by the wind, but she knew the promise had been made. From this moment on, her life, and perhaps the life of the human she admired, would be forever changed. And so, under the twin moons of Zarathis, a forbidden connection began. A connection that would challenge tradition, test bravery, and reveal the true strength of the human spirit. The next morning, Zarathis was bathed in pale sunlight, the desert stretching endlessly in all directions. Kayla moved carefully along the rocky ridges, keeping the human in her sight. Aaron had emerged from the cave and was scanning the horizon, his senses sharp and alert. Despite being alone in a hostile world, he did not panic. His calm determination fascinated Kayla even more. Kayla knew she had to act soon. The hunters were relentless, and Aaron could not evade them forever. The thought of intervening terrified her. Interfering in a hunt was considered treason among the Ilthari. Her family, her people, would call her reckless. Yet something inside her could not stand idly by. Humans were not meant to be trophies. They deserved respect, not fear. She decided to descend closer, moving through the jagged rocks with agility. Every step required patience. She had to stay unseen. She reminded herself the goal was protection, not attack. She would find a way to help Aaron survive, even if it meant breaking all the rules. Below, Aaron was moving carefully, avoiding the tracks the hunters had left. His keen eyes noticed subtle disturbances in the sand, hints of traps and ambush points. Kayla watched silently as he marked safe paths in the dust with small sticks. Each mark represented intelligence and foresight, a quality Kayla knew her people valued highly. She began to realize that humans, despite their physical weakness, possessed a unique kind of strength. The first hunters approached, moving in a tight formation. They spotted faint tracks leading to Aaron's path. One hunter signaled, and the group changed direction to intercept him. Aaron noticed immediately and began to alter his course, leading them into a narrow canyon where movement was difficult for larger bodies. Kayla smiled quietly. Humans had an uncanny ability to use the environment to their advantage. Suddenly, one of the hunters fired a net device. Aaron rolled to the side, barely avoiding capture. Kayla's heart pounded. She realized she could not just watch anymore. She had to intervene, but how? A direct attack on the hunters would expose her to grave danger. She needed another way, something clever, subtle, and non-lethal. Kayla noticed a cluster of sharp rocks above the hunter's path. With careful precision, she dislodged a few stones, causing a small rock slide that blocked their movement. The hunters shouted in surprise, trying to clear the rocks. Aaron, spotting the distraction, took advantage of the moment to slip away. Kayla held her breath as he disappeared into the distance. She had done it, her first act of defiance, but her success came at a cost. Kayla knew the elders would sense her interference. In Ilthari society, such bold moves were not forgiven. She did not hesitate. The human's life was more important than her reputation. That evening, Kayla approached Aaron cautiously. He had found a small oasis, a rare pocket of water and shade amidst the barren desert. Kayla kept her distance, not wanting to frighten him. She spoke softly in the common language she had studied for years. "Human," she called. "I mean no harm. I am Kayla of the Ilthari. I wish to protect you." Aaron froze, his eyes narrowing. He had heard of alien watchers before, but none had ever approached him like this. His instincts told him to flee, but something in Kayla's calm demeanor made him pause. "Why?" he asked cautiously. "Why would you care?" Kayla hesitated. The truth was dangerous. "I see in you what others refuse to see. You are clever, brave, and alive. You deserve to live, not be hunted." Aaron studied her. There was honesty in her voice, something he had not expected from any member of her species. He sensed a choice: trust her or remain alone in a world full of hunters. After a moment, he nodded slightly. "All right," he said. "I will listen, but if you try to trick me, I will run." Kayla smiled faintly. "I promise I will not trick you. I only wish to help." The night was quiet, and for the first time, Aaron felt a strange sense of safety. Kayla shared a few tips for survival. teaching him how to move silently, find water, and anticipate the hunter's strategies. Aaron listened carefully, amazed by her knowledge. It was clear she had studied humans for a long time. As days passed, their cooperation grew stronger. Kayla realized that the human's intelligence was not just cleverness, it was adaptability. Aaron could take a situation that seemed hopeless and find a solution. He could turn weakness into strength with a combination of observation, planning, and courage. Kayla began to respect him deeply, more than she had ever respected any creature. One evening, Kayla revealed an aspect of her culture that surprised Aaron. Among the Ilthari, she explained, it is a great honor to carry the offspring of another species. It is a way to show trust, respect, and connection. I wish to carry your future offspring. Aaron's eyes widened. You want me to trust you with this? He asked cautiously. Yes, Kayla said. Not for power, not for control, but as a promise, a bond between our species. A sign that humans are valued, not prey. Aaron was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice steady. If it helps humans survive, if it helps others see our worth, I will trust you. Kayla's heart soared. The bond they were forming was stronger than anything she had imagined. It was more than survival. It was mutual respect, admiration, and hope. But danger was never far away. The hunters were relentless, and news of Aaron's clever evasions had reached the elders. Kayla knew they would act soon, sending forces to punish both the human and anyone who defied tradition. Yet she did not waver. She had made her choice. She would protect him, and she would honor the promise she had made no matter the cost. In the following days, Kayla and Aaron worked together to create clever traps and diversions to mislead the hunters. Each success further impressed Kayla with the human spirit. He did not give up. He did not complain. He adapted, learned, and persisted. Kayla realized that the human's true strength lay not in muscles or weapons, but in their mind, courage, and determination. By the end of the second week, the desert began to feel less like a battlefield and more like a place of learning and partnership. Kayla and Aaron shared stories of their worlds, their hopes and dreams. Trust grew, and with it a sense of purpose. Kayla understood that she was no longer just protecting a human. She was championing the potential of humanity itself. And yet in the back of her mind, she knew a greater challenge awaited. The elders would not ignore her defiance forever, and the hunters would not give up easily. But Kayla was determined. For Aaron, for humanity, she would stand against tradition, danger, and the expectations of her people. Under the twin moons of Zarathis, Kayla and Aaron prepared for the challenges ahead. Together they would face the impossible, proving that humans were more than prey. They were partners, thinkers, and survivors worthy of admiration. The desert of Zarathis was quiet under the soft light of dawn, but the tension in the air was thick. Kayla and Aaron had spent weeks surviving together, learning from one another and growing closer in trust and purpose. But today would bring the greatest test yet. The hunters, enraged by Aaron's repeated escapes, had sent reinforcements. The elders, too, were aware of Kayla's defiance and were preparing to confront her. Kayla scanned the horizon, her eyes sharp and calculating. She had prepared traps and decoys for the hunters, using her knowledge of the terrain and Aaron's ingenuity. But the threat from her own people weighed heavily on her mind. Defying the elders was dangerous, and if she failed, both her life and Aaron's could be at risk. Yet she had made a promise, and she would not waver. Aaron stood beside her, his body tense, ready to move at any instant. Despite being hunted for so long, his courage had never faltered. Kayla admired him more than ever. Humans, she realized, were unlike any other species. Their strength lay not in size or speed, but in their mind, their will, and their heart. The hunters appeared first, a line of armored figures moving quickly across the sand. Kayla signaled to Aaron, and he darted forward, leading the hunters into a narrow canyon. The walls of the canyon were steep and uneven, perfect for ambush. Kayla triggered the first of her traps, a series of falling rocks that blocked the hunters' path. They stumbled, shouted, and struggled, buying precious moments for Aaron to gain distance. But the hunters were clever too. They adjusted their strategy, using their devices to detect hidden dangers. Kayla and Aaron had to act quickly. Together, they coordinated moves that were almost like a dance, Aaron using his agility, Kayla using her knowledge of the terrain. They created false trails, scattered markers and misleading signals to confuse their pursuers. Hours passed, and exhaustion began to set in. Erin's breathing was heavy, and Kayla could feel her own energy waning. Yet they could not stop. The hunters were relentless, and the stakes had never been higher. Kayla looked at Erin, and in that moment she felt a surge of determination. She would protect him no matter the cost. Humans were not prey. They were worthy of admiration, of respect, and of hope. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. The elders had arrived. Kayla's heart sank. She had hoped to avoid them, but there was no way to hide. A powerful figure stepped forward, eyes glowing with authority. The eldest Ilthari spoke in a tone that brooked no argument. "Kayla," the elder said, "you have defied tradition. You have interfered with the hunt. Explain yourself." Kayla stepped forward, her voice calm but strong. "I have seen the truth," she said. "Humans are not merely prey. They are clever, brave, and capable of more than you allow yourselves to believe. This human, Iran, has shown qualities worthy of respect. I will protect him, and I will honor the bond I have proposed." A murmur ran through the assembly. Defiance of tradition was dangerous, yet Kayla's words carried weight. She spoke not with fear, but with certainty. Her actions had proven humans' value, and even the elders could not deny what they had witnessed. Aaron stepped forward, his eyes meeting the elders. "I am not your enemy," he said. "I do not seek conflict. But I am not prey. I will fight to survive, and I will honor those who respect life and courage, even if they are alien." The elders studied him, weighing his words. Slowly, a sense of respect began to form. Kayla had shown them that humans were not weak. They were partners in strategy, intelligence, and perseverance. The elders had to reconsider their assumptions. The standoff ended when a loud commotion came from the hunters who had not yet been neutralized. Kayla and Aaron seized the opportunity. Together, they coordinated a final plan using their combined wits and instincts. Aaron led the hunters into a canyon trap, while Kayla manipulated the terrain to create barriers and obstacles. One by one, the hunters were immobilized, forced to retreat or disarmed. By the time the dust settled, the desert was quiet once more. Aaron and Kayla stood side by side, their breathing heavy but hearts full. The elders approached cautiously, and after a long pause, one spoke. "Perhaps we were wrong," the elder admitted. "Humans possess a strength that we have underestimated. And you, Kayla, have shown courage and wisdom beyond your years." Kayla bowed slightly. "It is not I alone," she said. "It is the human spirit that is remarkable. It is their courage, their intelligence, and their resilience that must be recognized." Aaron looked at Kayla and smiled. "You have risked everything for me," he said. "I will not forget it, and I trust you completely." Kayla's heart lifted. She had made a choice, and it had not only saved a life, but had also begun to change the hearts of her people. She extended her hand to Aaron, and he took it, a gesture of trust and partnership that transcended species. Days later, Kayla fulfilled her promise. The ritual of carrying the offspring, a symbol of respect and connection, was performed. It was not an act of possession or control, but of bonding, trust, and admiration. Her people watched in awe, realizing that humans were not just prey. They were beings of value and honor. The partnership between Kayla and Aaron became a legend among the Ilthari. It inspired a new understanding between species and forged a path for future cooperation. Humans were no longer viewed as fragile creatures to be hunted, but as allies, thinkers, and courageous partners capable of changing even the most rigid traditions. As the twin moons of Zarathis rose high in the sky, Kayla and Aaron stood together on the cliffs looking out over the desert. The wind carried the promise of new beginnings, and the stars above seemed to shine brighter than ever. They had survived the hunt, defied expectation, and proven that courage, intelligence, and the human spirit could overcome any obstacle. Kayla looked at Aaron and whispered, "Together we can face anything." Aaron nodded. "And the world will see what humans can truly do." In the end, it was not strength of arms that won the day, but the strength of mind, courage, and unity. The human had survived the hunt, and the alien had learned a lesson that would echo for generations. Sometimes, the smallest and seemingly weakest creatures hold the greatest power of all, and so, a bond was forged that would last far beyond Zarathis, proving that the human spirit, when recognized and respected, could inspire change across the galaxy.